General Services Committee meeting together on June 11th, 2018 at 12 noon. And first item on the agenda is approval of changes and additions to city's classification and comprehensive plan. Melissa.
Yes, thank you. So I have just a few changes to bring to you today for recommendation, and I'll just kind of go through each one. The first one sits in our finance department. So we currently have a deputy finance director, Bonnie Jensen, / comptroller. Since we are not going to move forward and fill the finance director position as we have in the past, we thought it would be more fitting to drop the first part of her title only and move forward with just a comptroller title. She would still keep all of her same duties. She's still the main supervisor in that department that employees would go to. There's really no changes in her job duties, just updating that title for a more current title for what she's doing. So that one's pretty simple. Being that we are not refilling the finance director position, we are recommending moving forward and hiring an accountant position to help with some of the general accountant duties in finance. We have had the position leveled and reviewed by BDPA. The position is basically going to be assisting the comptroller in lots of the reports and audits and the general city budget. It came back at a pay grade 14, and I'll talk about the wages with that in a moment. So that's one new position. The other new position is in our police department, and that's a crime victim advocate position. The police chief came before council a month or so ago. They have a grant that has been partially funding this the initial year, 75%, with a 25% city match. The position is going to be generally helping victims of crimes, dealing with some of the social service agencies, shelters, just general services at the scene of an accident or a crime. And then we would update the fiscal year 2018-19 budget to include it in there. So that's the other new position. And then the last part of the amendment is updating the fire chief and the police chief leveling. We've done a review of the wages and some of the comparables in the state of Idaho, and our police chief and fire chief are a little below market, about 7.5% below market. So looking at those comparables, if we are to increase their pay grade by 1 from a 19 to a 20, that increases their salary by about 12%. So within 5% of market is a very good competitive wage. And based on the size of their department and the scope of their responsibilities, I would recommend that increase to a pay grade 20. So back to the accountant position, there is savings in the department already from not filling the finance director position. The accountant position is 5 pay grades lower, so we have the savings to just adjust the organization there. The crime victim advocate position, we have the 25% responsibility this fiscal year. That can be absorbed with the savings in wages right now for the police department, just based on them not being able to hire fast enough for police officer. They have that savings. And then the reclassification of the 2 chief positions, that's an approximate $15,000 a year. And we will look at adjusting that in the new fiscal year budget October 1st.
Any questions? No questions? Need a motion.
Move for council to approve the recommended changes and additions to the city's classification and compensation plan.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, thank you. Thanks, Melissa. Second item is approval of lease of city-owned parking lots to the Coeur d'Alene Chamber of Commerce on the 4th of July. Troy.
Good afternoon, General Services Committee members. I bring a guest from our chamber, oversees the chamber, does a great job, Mr. Steve Wilson. We are proposing to you today to enter into the 7th year of a partnership with the Chamber of Commerce when it comes to leasing the city-owned parking lots to the Chamber of Commerce. This is an activity that helps offset the cost for our public fireworks. The Chamber is proposing no changes from what we did last year, which would be $20 per space for the car parking there. And the city would receive into the parking fund $9 per space. Fireworks are approaching a $30,000 a year expenditure. The city assists with this program but doesn't do any of the funding. The other piece that our chamber does to help us out is helps with paying for traffic flaggers so that folks can exit the downtown. Many of those folks come from the great state of Washington, and we think that this is a fine way in which to offset costs, provide great parking, and have a spectacular 4th of July. Doing some rough numbers, because our new shared use parking lot over at Memorial Field, shared being the fact that it's a partnership with Kootenai County, will add about 140 spaces. So for rough numbers, doesn't include trailer parking, which of course could be maxed out. We're over 1,000 public parking spaces for this 4th of July, and it will not include the lower parking lot at City Hall because our police and fire will be staged there, and that's even before the new parking garage. So I bring Steve as he could answer any questions you might have, but that would be my report.
Okay, any questions?
Has there been any discussion on raising that rate of $20 a day to help cover more costs for the fireworks display? I mean, 20 seems very reasonable for all day on such a very busy day in our community.
We moved it 2 years ago.
Okay.
We moved it last year
Okay.
from 15 to 20, and really felt like we could leave it one more year.
Right, right. Okay, as long as we've done it recently. So.
We also have to pay to have the new sign, the new pricing change signs. So Chamber of Commerce is very frugal.
Okay. All right. I figured you guys were thinking about that already.
And Troy, is the new parking lot open?
Not as of this moment.
Okay.
The goal is this week.
Okay.
So yes, it will be open by the 4th of July though, for sure.
Wonderful. It's a great event, and I appreciate you putting on the fireworks. Can you talk about the show? Is it going to be better this year? Is it going to be longer, shorter?
It's roughly the same size, so not only is the fireworks, but we also have our responsibilities of the parade. And we moved the parade up an hour last year. It was a very good experiment. And we've had our 4th of July meeting with the city, the streets department, and PD, and everyone seems to be on the same page, and we really appreciate this partnership. We think it's a great way to offset our costs. We run an expenditure that day of about $60,000 by the time we pay for. We forget about porta potties, and in addition to security, so we got all sorts of little ingredients that go into that day, and really appreciate the city's support and help, and this is a good way to offset some of those costs, so thank you.
Awesome event, and I look forward to it every year. Thank you.
Good.
Any other questions? Need a motion?
I'll make a motion that council approve the lease of the city-owned parking lots to the Chamber of Commerce on the 4th of July to generate revenue that will be used exclusively to defray the cost of community firework displays.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Item number 3, approval of school resource officer contract for School District 271 for 2018 and 2019. Well, hi, Dave.
Hi. I didn't bring my uniform today.
Yeah.
Now, I'm sitting in for Captain Hagar, who's unable to join us today. This is a pretty straightforward contract. We have entered into a contract with the school district for many years now to provide school resource officers. This contract will do so for the next school year. I reviewed the contract as it was going through the process and approved it. It has been reviewed and approved by the district's attorney, and the school district has now, the school board has now approved the contract. So the police department is requesting that council approve the contract. The primary change from last year is a simplification of the calculation for how much the school district will pay the city. It's now 67% of a 9-month salary for salary and benefits for 7 officers, not to exceed the amount of $395,968.51. The final amount that will be paid is dependent upon what the officers' salaries actually will be following the negotiation of the union contract, but again, the amount will not exceed the amount stated that I previously stated. So it has been a very valuable contract for the city of Coeur d'Alene and for the school district, and we desire to see that continue. So the recommendation is that council approve that contract.
Any questions?
Just a comment, I'm really happy to support the schools. I think it's very important that we have our officers there. You know, student safety is a major concern nationally these days, and I think our officers' presence do a lot to help the students stay safe and also peace of mind for the parents and the teachers and the staff. And I just wish more government agencies would be willing to step up to the plate and assist the school district the way we do.
Need a motion?
I'll make a motion that council approve the contract with the Coeur d'Alene School District to provide school resource officers services for school year 2018-2019.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you, Dave. Okay, that's it.
That's
Thank
how
you.
we do things downtown.